Why a 32-inch waist at 60 commands more respect than a six-figure income. A 32-inch waist after 60 is rarer than a $250,000 salary. Only 2% of men over 60 maintain a 32-inch waist, while 8% earn six figures. But here's what makes waist size more powerful. You can't fake it, buy it, or inherit it. It broadcasts discipline, health, and self-control instantly. Research shows men with sub-33-inch waists after 60 are perceived as more successful, trustworthy, and competent before saying a word. Here's the physiological threshold and maintenance protocol. First impressions are visceral. Let's examine why this single measurement matters. Point 1. Visceral adiposity as health marker and visual assessment. Most men over 60 focus on total body weight or BMI, while completely ignoring waist circumference, the measurement that actually predicts health outcomes and social perception. They step on scales daily, watching numbers fluctuate 3 pounds up and down from water retention, celebrating because the scale dropped 2 pounds while not noticing their belt moved another notch outward. It's like obsessing over the scoreboard while ignoring that you're losing the actual game. Some rationalize abdominal fat as normal aging or dad bod, convinced that relaxed standards apply after 50. They're comparing themselves to their equally overweight peers instead of to the standard that actually matters. Others hide expanding waistlines with untucked shirts, dark colors, strategic clothing choices, vertical stripes, loose fits, treating the symptom rather than addressing the cause. The medical system reinforces this by using BMI, a measurement that can't distinguish muscle from fat, instead of the simple waist measurement that predicts mortality better than almost any other metric. Waist circumference directly measures visceral adiposity, fat stored around internal organs rather than under skin. This isn't cosmetic fat you can pinch. This is metabolically active tissue wrapped around your liver, pancreas, and intestines, secreting inflammatory compounds and disrupting normal organ function. Visceral fat correlates with cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, certain cancers, and all-cause mortality more strongly than total body fat percentage or BMI. Research published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology found men with waist circumference above 40 inches had significantly elevated mortality risk compared to those below 35 inches, independent of BMI, weight, or other factors. The waist measurement alone predicted outcomes better than comprehensive metabolic panels costing hundreds of dollars. Above 40 inches represents severe risk. Between 35 to 40 indicates elevated risk. Below 33 inches correlates with optimal health markers. Below 32 inches places you in the top 2% for your age group. Visually, waist circumference creates immediate assessment. Before you speak, before credentials are mentioned, people unconsciously evaluate your physical presentation. A lean waist signals discipline, self-control, and vitality. An expanded waist suggests the opposite, regardless of your actual character or capabilities. Fair? Reality? Absolutely. Paul Rudd maintains remarkably lean physique into his 50s, frequently joking about the discipline required for shirtless Marvel scenes. While he plays it for laughs, the underlying reality stands. Maintaining a lean waist requires consistent effort most men abandon. Target 32 to 33-inch waist maximum, measured at navel level while standing relaxed. Point 2. Insulin resistance and waist circumference correlation. Men get diagnosed with prediabetes or type 2 diabetes and treat it as a blood sugar problem requiring medication, never understanding that insulin resistance, the underlying cause, manifests visibly in waist circumference years before blood tests show abnormalities. They're taking metformin managing symptoms while ignoring that their expanding waistline literally predicted this for the past 5 years. Some notice increased thirst, frequent urination, or fatigue and attribute these to aging. I'm just getting older. Of course I'm tired. Others get fasting glucose tests annually, see numbers creeping upward, 95, 100, 105, and assume they have time to address it later. The doctor says, "You're pre-diabetic, let's watch it," which in medical terms means, let's wait until it becomes actual diabetes before we panic. Meanwhile, insulin resistance has been developing for years, visible in waist measurements doctors never take. Waist circumference correlates with insulin resistance more accurately than fasting glucose tests. As insulin resistance develops, your body stores excess energy as visceral fat because subcutaneous storage capacity is exceeded. The expanded waist isn't causing insulin resistance, it's displaying it. By the time fasting glucose becomes abnormal, you've had insulin resistance for years, visible in waist measurements the entire time. Research from Diabetes Care Journal found waist circumference predicted insulin resistance and diabetes development better than BMI, body fat percentage, or fasting glucose in men over 50. They tracked thousands of men for a decade. Waist measurement at baseline predicted who developed diabetes more accurately than standard blood tests. Each inch above 35 increased diabetes risk approximately 20%. Above 40 inches, risk increased exponentially. The mechanism is straightforward. Visceral fat releases free fatty acids directly into portal circulation, feeding your liver. This creates hepatic insulin resistance. Your liver stops responding to insulin signals. Meanwhile, visceral fat secretes inflammatory cytokines that promote systemic insulin resistance. More waist fat equals more inflammation equals worse insulin sensitivity. Insulin resistance doesn't just affect blood sugar. It accelerates aging through increased inflammation, oxidative stress, mitochondrial dysfunction, and cellular damage. Men with insulin resistance look older, move worse, think slower, and die younger than metabolically healthy men, regardless of chronological age. Reversing insulin resistance requires reducing visceral adiposity. There's no pharmaceutical shortcut. Medication manages blood sugar but doesn't restore insulin sensitivity. Only fat loss, specifically visceral fat loss, reverses the underlying condition. Target maintain waist below 35 inches to prevent insulin resistance, below 33 inches for optimal insulin sensitivity. Point 3. Testosterone levels and abdominal fat inverse relationship. Men experiencing low testosterone symptoms, reduced energy, decreased muscle mass, increased body fat, diminished libido, immediately seek testosterone replacement therapy without understanding that abdominal fat actively suppresses testosterone production. They view low testosterone and abdominal fat as separate issues. TRT for hormones, diet for fat loss. Meanwhile, visceral adiposity contains aromatase enzyme that converts testosterone to estrogen, creating a vicious cycle. More abdominal fat means more estrogen conversion, lower testosterone, and conditions favoring further fat storage. You're trapped in a biological feedback loop. Some men start TRT while remaining overweight, wondering why results disappoint. They're adding testosterone that immediately gets converted to estrogen, like pouring water into a bucket with a hole in the bottom. Abdominal fat and testosterone exist in inverse relationship. More belly fat means less testosterone, and low testosterone promotes abdominal fat storage. This bidirectional relationship creates either virtuous cycles of improvement or vicious cycles of decline. Visceral adiposity contains high concentrations of aromatase enzyme that converts testosterone to estradiol. Research in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism found men with waist circumference above 40 inches had testosterone levels approximately 40% lower than men with waist below 35 inches, matched for age and other factors. The relationship remained significant after controlling for weight, BMI, and activity level. Waist circumference alone predicted testosterone better than most other variables. Additionally, visceral fat secretes leptin, which inhibits testosterone production at the testicular level. More fat means more leptin, means less testosterone synthesis. You're getting hit from multiple angles: increased conversion to estrogen, decreased production, and hormonal environment favoring fat storage over muscle maintenance. Low testosterone accelerates aging. Reduced muscle mass, decreased bone density, increased cardiovascular risk, cognitive decline, and reduced vitality. Men with healthy testosterone levels look younger, perform better physically and mentally, and maintain independence longer. TRT can help, but it works far better when abdominal fat is minimized first. Starting TRT while carrying significant visceral fat means fighting against aromatase conversion continuously. Target: reduce waist to 33 inches or below to minimize aromatase activity and optimize endogenous testosterone production. Point 4. Social perception and automatic discipline assumptions. Most men believe their competence, intelligence, and character speak louder than physical appearance. They invested years in education, decades in career development, accumulated professional credentials, while dismissing physique as superficial vanity. Some actively resent the idea that physical presentation affects how others perceive their capabilities. Judge me on my results, not my appearance. Others recognize the bias exists but refuse to accommodate it on principle. If people can't see past my weight to appreciate my capabilities, that's their problem. Meanwhile, research consistently demonstrates that physical appearance, particularly waist circumference, triggers immediate unconscious judgments about competence, trustworthiness, discipline, and success that affect professional opportunities, social interactions, and relationships, whether you like it or not. Studies across psychology and organizational behavior demonstrate that lean physiques correlate with perceptions of leadership capability, self-discipline, and professional competence. Princeton University research found people make personality judgments within milliseconds of seeing someone, faster than conscious thought. These snap judgments include assessments of competence, trustworthiness, and status based largely on physical presentation. Specifically regarding waist circumference, men with visible abdominal fat are unconsciously perceived as less disciplined, less capable of delayed gratification, and less successful, regardless of actual achievements. The logic operates unconsciously. If he can't control something as basic as food intake, how can he control complex business situations or lead effectively? Fair? Absolutely not. Accurate? Often not. Universal? Yes. Research in the Journal of Applied Psychology found overweight individuals received lower competence ratings in professional settings, even when qualifications were identical to lean counterparts. They showed evaluators identical resumes with photos. The overweight candidates received systematically lower ratings despite identical credentials. The bias operates unconsciously. Beyond professional settings, social interactions and romantic contexts demonstrate even stronger bias. A lean waist after 60 signals exceptional discipline because it's statistically rare and visually obvious. Only 2% achieve it. Everyone can see it immediately. Unlike income, education, or achievements requiring conversation to reveal, waist circumference broadcasts instantly. J.J. Abrams maintains lean physique while managing massive productions. He's discussed how physical energy and presentation affect leadership perception on set. While talent matters, the ability to project energy and discipline through physical presence influences team dynamics. Target. Understand that maintaining a 32-33-inch waist provides social advantages beyond health. People unconsciously attribute positive characteristics before you demonstrate them. Before the bonus protocol, write discipline visible in the comments if you've stayed to this point. Bonus point, the Visceral Fat Reduction Protocol. Here's the specific approach that reduces waist circumference when general fat loss protocols fail. Nutritional strategy. Visceral fat responds better to specific interventions than subcutaneous fat. Eliminate processed carbohydrates completely. Bread, pasta, rice, anything made with flour, anything with added sugar. These spike insulin maximally, promoting visceral fat storage. Focus on protein at 0.8 to 1 gram per pound body weight. Add fibrous vegetables and healthy fats from fish, olive oil, avocados, nuts. Create 500-calorie daily deficit through portion control, not extreme restriction. Specific foods that reduce visceral fat preferentially. Fatty fish like salmon. Omega-3s reduce inflammation, driving fat storage. Cruciferous vegetables like broccoli support estrogen metabolism. Green tea, EGCG specifically targets visceral adiposity. Vinegar with meals improves insulin sensitivity. Training protocol. High-intensity interval training reduces visceral fat more effectively than steady-state cardio. 20-minute sessions, 3 to 4 times weekly. 30 seconds maximum effort, 90 seconds recovery. Repeat 8 to 10 rounds. This creates hormonal environment favoring visceral fat mobilization. Heavy compound strength training maintains muscle mass during deficit and improves insulin sensitivity. Deadlifts, squats, presses, movements requiring core stabilization particularly effective. 3 to 4 sessions weekly, progressive overload. Critical element, sleep. Poor sleep increases cortisol, promoting visceral fat storage preferentially. 7 to 8 hours nightly is non-negotiable. Sleep deprivation makes waist reduction nearly impossible, regardless of perfect diet and training. Timeline. Expect 0.5 to 1 inch monthly reduction with consistent protocol. From 38 inches to 32 inches requires 6 to 12 months of disciplined execution. No shortcuts exist, but the protocol works if followed. Recap of main points. Let me quickly recap what determines the respect a 32-inch waist commands. Point 1. Waist circumference measures visceral adiposity, the health marker that predicts mortality better than BMI or weight. Below 33 inches indicates optimal health. Point 2. Waist measurement displays insulin resistance before blood tests show abnormalities. Below 35 inches prevents metabolic dysfunction. Point 3. Abdominal fat actively suppresses testosterone through aromatase conversion. Below 33 inches optimizes hormonal environment. Point 4. Lean waist triggers unconscious assumptions about discipline, competence, and success. 32 inches places you in top 2% statistically. Bonus, targeted protocol combining specific nutrition, HEAT training, and sleep optimization reduces visceral fat systematically. Measure your waist. Start the protocol. Results speak louder than credentials. You just learned what puts you ahead of 95% of men. Subscribe to join the Style Connection community, where we don't accept average. New content drops daily on building muscle, commanding respect, and looking your best. Hit the bell to stay ahead. Drop a like to support the channel and share this with a friend who's ready to level up. Another video is waiting for you on screen. Talk soon.